is that of Islamic revival. To revive means to bring to life consciousness again, to give new vigor and health, to bring back into use a currency, as after a period of neglect or obscurity. We use the term Islamic revival because most of our countries are majority Muslim, where at least some of the culture is based on Islam. Islamic thought process and the way of life is not foreign at all to these societies. It provides an ideal government environment for full revival of the true all-encompassing deen in a manner that will change the social, political, and economic landscape. Okay. In America, it wasn't a thing of Islamic revival, it was a thing of establishing Islam. In the world in general, they lived under governments and the people were Muslims, like in Egypt and like in Jordan and Pakistan. They were not true Islamic governments, but the culture had heavy Islamic overtones. People knew the Masjid. They get teachings on Islam and Quranic reading and Tariq al-Islam, the history. They get all of that in elementary school. And so they're familiar with Islam. We didn't have that in America at that time. So it was not the environment for Islamic revival. But now we have amongst the Muslims an Islamic culture. The Masjid are full of people. Eid prayers are announced on the TV. They're on the doggone calendar. The little desk calendar that you get from Staples.
Yep.
It has
Eid al-Adha, Eid al-Fitr.
It has them, and half the time it's correct. Sometimes, most of the time, if you were just a regular American Muslim, you could look on the calendar and you could figure out when they're going to do their Eid, and you wouldn't be wrong. The other thing is the holdout syndrome in the early days. You might have Eid on 3 days. Some went out with the Saudis, some went out with a sighting in their hometown back over there, and some waited for a sighting here. All the Eids was at least 2 days, different days, and some even 3 days. The Saudis messed up one time so bad, it was almost like this last year. They went out so early, some of the calendar said the 15th, didn't it? Some of them went on the 15th instead of the 16th. So they had to break, they couldn't fast no more. They'd be doing 31 days. You see, the point is Islamic revival. To revive, to renew, to invigorate Islam, to bring it back to its pristine nature. That's part of our goal now. Not only challenging the system and what have you, but we live in 3 time zones. The past that we have to study, and we studied it well. We have to study it well. We got the proof right here. All these, you read those, and just like reading the day, everything we laid out. You know, and one of the things of Mujaddid, diagnosis of the current illness, examine thoroughly the circumstances and conditions of the time and ascertain exactly where, how, and what extent ignorance has crept in, and where its roots are, and what position Islam occupies at the time. Then number 2, scheme for reformation. In other words, as quiet as kept, we have been working on the program of Islamic revival all along, because the 9 criteria laid out for Islamic revival, or to be an ideal objective, right, comes from Maulana Maudud's book, Islamic Revival, that we read in 1976 and 77. Estimation of one's limitation and resources, intellectual resolution, practical reforms, ijtihad. We practice ijtihad. We actually, the fiqh of dawah, the fiqh of rare and inconsequential warfare, and all those types of things. So, what's the point right now? So right now, we have to do the past that we've learned from the past. The present, what we're doing now. We're explaining to the Muslims where they are and where we are, what the possibilities are. We are showing. If this stuff is getting out like it's supposed to be, if it's not, we'll get it out later by hand. But we face down the United States government. We face down the Zionists. It's not consequential that we're the number one Daniel Pipe's enemy of the people, the Zionists. Abraham Foxman, Steve Emerson. Shoot, Abe Fox was the head Zionist in America. The head of the ADL or something like that. What's that other stuff they do? Okay? Now, you got to realize, we realize who we are, what we've been doing, and for what reason we're doing it. The people needed what we went through last night. Needed a model, needed an example, needed to see it can be done. Do they see it can be done? Of course, all of them see it. Why? All the leaders know exactly. Just think about it. Any meeting we went to, do all the leaders there know exactly who we are and know exactly what part we play, and they know what they're supposed to cut off and what they're supposed to leave open, right? So they know what the platform is. They know what the program is. And so as we survive and thrive in that environment, we're teaching them. And at the proper time, now remember, they have some Islam in their heart. They're not just like pure hypocrites. They've made a bad decision. They made the immigrant decision. We're in America, they thought it was freedom. Just because they was killing us like they have been, they ain't killing them, right? They can come here, any Pakistani could come here and drive a cab, as they said on the news. They could drive a cab and enter the middle class and send money back home, and, right? And if you notice, all the immigrants, just like whether it's South Africa, wherever it is, the immigrants not only take up the hard work, but they open up stores and shops. They become traders. Trade is where you make money. Eventually, you stay in trade if you last. You're going to be doing pretty good. Pretty soon, you have a petty trading class. They're not super rich, but they bought the little store on the corner. Then they bought the apartment street a little pretty soon. The little stores, the corner groceries, it bought up the whole area. Yes.
So the Muslim immigrants, they come here, they're not exactly poor, are they?
Okay, some, the Pakistanis and all of those, okay, there's two different, for instance, if you take Europe, take England, the Indo-Pakistanis that went to Europe in the 50s went as workers in cotton mills and what have you. The immigrants that came here in the 70s, most of them came from middle and upper middle class families that go to school. But some of them came, like you see some Pakistani car drivers, cab drivers and all that. So, the immigrant Muslims that came here, most of them were top of the line students. They had to be. And the community there, the whole family, maybe both sides of the family, or 2 or 3 families together, got together to send Abdullah here. And in the 60s and the 70s, they got it good. They could wash dishes. You know, this is what the Iranians who said they could wash dishes, send money home, and buy a car, and do all that, just working in a restaurant, washing dishes on tips and stuff. Can't do that now. That was in the 80s. So, the immigrants that came here came from different groups, depending on where they came from. Yes.
Like our friend that takes care of the cars,
Right.
said he came here in '85, and where he came from, he went to the university.
Right.
And there are other groups of people that are from the same place. They kind of know each other, and they say they went to the university. So when they got here, you know, they got their whatever it is they do, and off they went. So is that a normal?
Okay, like for instance, he's doing cars. Turns out good for him. He went to the university there, but when he got over here, he went to auto mechanics or something. He used his university degree to help manage all of that, to think bigger. But he looked to see, and then they brought a whole crew. Right. So each one of them bring a crew with them, all of their crews that are scattered around in each one of their places. They got one of their people working with them. The cab drivers of the street is shell. You can see the cabs still there. I don't know, 3, 4 of them, how many of them got together. And they got a going concern up there. That turns money. They got a turnover going on gas and snacks.
And they clean it up.
Yeah. But they saved their money. They did the right thing. Some of the brothers we know, Sudanese brothers, they got them 7-Elevens. I know years ago Iranians had, I go to different towns, and one of the Iranians that's going to stay would have a Dunkin' Donuts. And at that time he said, okay, they send all this stuff. Here's what this costs. Imam Musa, he says, to make a dozen donuts that I sell for like $4, it costs 51 cents. Okay. So he's 8 times his money. But that's what you gotta do in order to pay all the frills. So it's a guaranteed income almost. A Dunkin' Donuts, most of those franchises are almost guaranteed, especially if you're gonna have your behind in there yourself. you're going to do all right. So technically, most of the immigrants came here and they worked into their position. The Pakistanis, all of them, a few of them came from upper class families, but not that many. Same thing with Arabs. Okay, so that's why they have the attitude about us. You know, all immigrants have the same attitude about us. Have you noticed the amount of writers and movie stars now that are African and not African American? I was listening to one of the young ladies talk the other day. We've talked about this before, it's clear. So the interview was saying, well, your dad, he was a doctor. And he faced all obstacles. He said, yeah, he faced all obstacles, but the obstacles here was nothing compared to what he would have to face back home. And there was no, he just figured I'd just work past it. He said, but now me, I'm raised here. I'm more conscious. She's a success. He said, I'm more conscious. So even the African immigrants, the first has an immigrant mentality, even the second generation. But you look at the third generation, they're not as gung-ho as the first two generations. Why? Because they're now African American.